We thank Allah, the one who has unlimited source of grace, mercy, and blessings. All matters will return to Him. And Allah is well aware and know and record everything that we all do. I bear witness there is no creator except Allah, the one and only, with no partners, the Almighty, and a sure truth. I bear witness that Muhammad, peace be upon him, is the servant and messenger of Allah. My dear brothers and sisters of Islam, our talk today, inshallah, is an invitation and a reminder to all of us of a noble conduct, a divine command from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is to start by your own soul in teaching, educating, applying the etiquette of Islam before preaching it to everyone else, starting by your own self in teaching, educating, following the guidance of Islam before preaching it to anyone else. A request to recognize own faults and shortcomings before advising others or expose their shortcoming, as we see those who talk goodness and do evil are plenty in our time. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Almighty, the Merciful, in a clear command forbids such a conduct, as He revealed in Surah As-Saff, verse 2 and 3. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, "O who you believe," and we always remind everyone, and Imam remind us, when you hear Allah saying, "O who you believe," take it very personal. Take it to yourself, not talking about somebody else. As what follow is very important, and what follow is very worthy of your attention. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, "O who you believe, why do you say that which you do not do?" Why do you say that which you do not do? Grievously repulsive with Allah, that you say that which you do not do. A clear talk from Allah the Almighty to our mind and to our conscience. Why speak goodness? Why entice others to do it, brag about it, and don't do it yourself? Why forbid evil, separate yourself from it, and you are tainted and described by it? It is a state which does not describe or define a Muslim or a believer. It is a serious offense. It is a spoiler to the faith and ultimately brings the anger and the wrath of the Almighty Allah. These two verses cover a strong put down for the believer who say that which they do not do, and the consequences of being a grievously repulsive act with Allah, which is a severe punishment by itself. Allah the Merciful alerting all of us to be true to the nature of the Muslim character, which is built on truth, not deception. A character which is the same in public as well as in secret, and practice what it advises, because it advises others as much as possibly can. Brothers and sisters of Islam, this is what the Muslim personality should be, as talking goodness and doing evil is the character of the hypocrites and the disbeliever altogether. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alerted all of us of such wrongdoing in many verses in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 44, Allah said, "Do you command the right conduct on people and forget to practice it yourselves while you are reciting the scriptures? Have you then no sense?" It doesn't make any sense. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah An-Nisa, verse 81, they say, this is the hypocrites, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was exposing the conduct of the hypocrites as they were talking to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Allah said, they say, the hypocrite, we are obedient. But when they leave you, O Muhammad, a section of them meditate all night on things very different from what you told them. Allah also said about the hypocrite and of mankind, there is he who speak about this worldly life may please you, O Muhammad. And he calls Allah to witness about what's in his heart. Yet he is the most competitive enemy. When he turned his back, his aim everywhere is to spread mischief through the earth and destroy crops and cattle, and Allah does not love mischief. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, in a clear hadith that we all know, said what can be translated, the sign of the hypocrite are three. If he speaks, he lies. And the Imam just elaborated, it's not just a lie, he lies about what he say and what he does. He can say something, but he can do something else. It's not just lying about something related to an incident or happen. So the Prophet said, the character and the sign of the hypocrite are three. If he speak, he lies. If he promise, he renege. He always do the opposite. And if he is trusted, he betrays. And many hadiths point to the same meaning of being deceitful, which is not a character of a believer by any stretch. With all this guidance, it is obligatory for the one who speaks goodness, wholesomeness, and cries over the lack of others doing the same, to be the first to do what he preaches. The one who forbids evil should be the most distant from it. Allah gave the example to be a guidance for the believer in the person of a Prophet Shu'aib, may God be pleased with him, when he said to his people, I wish not, in opposition to you, to do that which I forbid you from doing. That's a conduct of a prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Start by your own soul, my dear brothers and sisters. Commanded goodness and forbid it from evil. Judge your own shortcoming and advise yourself before you provide advice or judge others. The pious, the righteous among the early Muslims took notice and judged themselves, fearing the consequences of advising others with that which they do not do. They sincerely provide their brothers with what they command themselves of doing first. An example of that was what narrated by Ibn Rajab, that a man came to Ibn Abbas, may God be pleased with him, and said, I would like to command people of goodness and forbid them from evil. Very wholesome intention. Very good question. I want to command others goodness and forbid them from evil. Ibn Abbas responded, if you do not fear to stand, if you do fear, or you do not fear, to stand these three verses of the Quran, then do. But if you do not, then start by yourself first. The man wanna command goodness, forbid evil. And the answer from Ibn Abbas, test yourself with these three verses first. If you stand that test, then do. But if you not, then start with your own soul first. Then Ibn Abbas recited what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, do you command the right conduct on people and forget to practice it yourselves? Then he recites, O who you believe, why do you say which you do not do? Then he recited what the Prophet Shu'aib said, I wish not in opposition to you to do that which I forbid you to do. The pious, the righteous early Muslim had the same awareness as who would lead a group prayer. A man among them feared to put himself forward, not judging himself first for his fitness for such a role, which is something people take easily these days. It is narrated that a man among the early Muslims stepped forward to pray as an imam, and he looked behind him to straighten out the line and said, "Be on a straight line and be on a straight path." And instantly he passed out. And when he regained his conscience, they asked him what happened. He said, "When I said, be on the right path, I reflected on my own soul and pondered, am I always on the straight path of Allah?" This is the behavior of a true believer as we reflect on those who put themselves forward today with no hesitation while having no merits and no qualification. And the Imam made a reference that he's seen a person who put himself first before an Imam who actually memorized the whole Quran, more knowledgeable, but he actually wanted to step forward, taking that role very easy, which is not a conduct of a true believer. My dear brothers and sisters, it is very important to point out. It is very important to point out and be very alert, because some people will be awake the first part of the khutbah and maybe he will kind of doze off the second part and miss the meaning, miss the importance of the message. And the message is, this talk is not intended to hinder the commanding of good and forbidding evil, and only restricted to the one who is completely clear of sins, as no one among us is free of sins or shortcoming. If only the one who provides advice and guidance free of shortcoming, no one would be providing guidance except the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, the only man who is short. He does not have any shortcomings or any faults. Our talk today, our message from the Imam today points out clearly to the importance, priority, and guidance for everyone to start by his own soul first in advice, command, exposing shortcoming, and doing his best to put himself on the straight path of Allah and his obedience before approaching anybody else. Do not volunteer to guide others and leave yourself to be second. You start by yourself. This is the point of this whole message, for our conscience to be alert where we are before we approach others. At that point, when you question yourself first, you know how truthful you are, even if you command something and you don't do it, or forbid something and you actually do it. Let each and every one of us sincerely command goodness and forbid evil, loving goodness for his brothers, and sincerely wish to steer them to the right path, and fearing for them to miss what he might miss of goodness. What is most dangerous is to be among those who are least knowledgeable of the divine guidance, or not on the right path of Allah, and appoint self to be a judge above others, as this what brings the wrath of Allah, and this what we are warned against. Start with your own soul, brothers and sisters, commanding it and forbidding it. And if you advise others, be very sincere and truthful in your intention. Be sincere and truthful in your intention, as this is what will be acceptable by the Almighty Allah and earn you multiples of rewards. May Allah make us among those who listen, comprehend, and inshallah applies. Assalamu alaikum. Just a couple of